okay, I'm watching the video right now. Like, what is it going to take for me to differentiate my product or differentiate myself on Amazon?
Yeah. In my mind, there's several levels of differentiation, and one of them is perceived. So usually when people think differentiation, they're thinking, well, real. And that's important. But I want to just take a moment to talk about perceived differentiation, because perceived is how it appears. So for example, and this is one of the reasons I think Amazon sellers and e-commerce sellers have a huge advantage over the brick and mortar. They've had to learn how to get someone to fall in love with a product that the customer can't actually touch, they can't smell, they can't hear it. All they can do is see it. So the pictures, the photos, and the listing have to be so good that it actually persuades them to spend money to buy that product. So perceived, I think, is huge. And I like to include into that category, not just referring to your listing on Amazon, but also the color of your product, the look of it, the really low-cost tweaks you might make, the retail packaging. This one guy, he took this kitchen knife, and all he did was he just packaged it beautifully.
Yeah.
Had a little box, he added some like straw in it, and just because of the packaging, his sales were crushing everyone, just because he changed. And so in my mind, that's perceived value, how it looks. And how it looks matters, because that's all people have to go on when they visit your Amazon listing.
Totally. We just got in a product. It's called the Switch Pod. We did this, or we paid for on the Kickstarter, and the box for it was really nice. It was like a high-end box. It kind of felt like an Apple box, right? And I think it had like a magnetic opening. So like right when you open this thing, you already had the feeling it was gonna be really nice and really high quality, right? And it's probably a little bit more expensive for the packaging, but it does make like a big difference. My perceived value right away was much higher. And I totally agree with you. One of the best split tests that I've recently run was a picture where it showed, it was for a towel. It showed our towel versus some of the competitors. And, you know, of course, when we're taking this picture, we're going to make sure like our towel looks real nice. You kind of like fluff it up a little extra, like it looks really nice and soft and fluffy. And that compared to kind of like the competitors' towels, like just out of the box. And actually it really is like more fluffy as well. But like taking the picture of us versus them versus the competition, it's just very clear, like, or it was like their perception for the Amazon customer was that like, wow, this one looks like way nicer, way fluffier. So and I think it makes a big difference. Like I said, it was the highest impact split test that I've ever run.
It's amazing what a single photo can do. And it's usually that first photo that people see before they have to click to see the next one. Like literally, the first thing that they're encountering is that main photo. And it reminds me of one of the techniques we've used that's super effective is we'll put in the keyword and we'll find all the main competitor products that come up. And then we'll Photoshop that or just screenshot it, drop it into Photoshop, and then take our picture and put it here or mix it in somewhere. Then give that to a bunch of different people and say, hey, which one? And just pass it around and ask them, which one would you pick? And if the majority of them are not picking our photo, obviously we need to change it out, because it gives you a super objective, because, you know, we all fall in love with our photos. We think, oh, mine's the best. You know, this is my perception. But my perception doesn't matter. What matters is what the customer wants.
I like that a lot. You could use something like Mechanical Turk or some of their servers too. Like just click this for, you know, you only have to pay a penny or 10 cents or whatever it is.
Food.
That's awesome. So Seth, I totally agree with you. Perceived value is a very important thing. I think this is something that has stood the test of time on Amazon e-commerce in general. And I totally agree, like in 2020, it's going to be more important than ever probably to have a high perceived value in order to succeed. What else do you think is going to be required?
So I would take the word perceived and then just switch it around to real. And when I say real, I don't mean that perceived is fake. I don't mean it's not important. It is, like we just discussed, but there still is so much value in taking a product and changing it in a way that people want. Like really, truly they're looking for. One of the easiest ways, you go to the critical reviews of the top competitors and find out what those people are looking for. Sometimes I avoid the 1-star. Because you never know where they're coming from. Maybe someone had a bad day, they stubbed their toe, they're like, I'm gonna, vent out on this. But usually the 2 and 3 stars are super helpful for just collecting that data. And what I love is when they say, the clamp fell off, or the product wouldn't stick, or it was too small, or it hurt my hands. Those kinds of words tell me exactly, okay, I know what I need to do now. And it does require research, and it costs more than perceived value, because now I actually have to find a manufacturer who can produce either a new material or a different size of material, and maybe sometimes a brand new product mold, like with a 3D print, to fix the problem. I'll just give one example without giving this away. So I will speak around it carefully. I won't mention it. So we're working on a product right now, And as we looked through all the reviews, we were really struggling with how to find a way to differentiate it, because we could see the perceived value will make it look amazing. Well, of course, we can do that. But at some point, other people can catch up with that.
Right.
So how do I make the real value better? Like, what do I do? And as we looked through the reviews, we noticed something. None of the reviews were telling us what they didn't like about the product. They were telling us just average statements about what they did like. So for example, oh, it's cool, oh, it's nice, and then it'd be like a 4-star or 3-star. And what we realized, because this item lends itself naturally towards gifts, we thought, what if we redesigned the entire product? It's a man's type gift. That's all I'll say for now. Father's Day would be awesome for this product. Christmas time is going to be amazing. What if we designed it in a way that when someone opens the package, man, I'm even thinking like Christmas present, they open it and they look at it, they're like, oh my goodness, this thing is just so slick. Like, this is awesome. And it's something they would put on their mantle. So all of our real value is going into how we make it look, like the design of it. And I'm talking about the kind of plastic, like ABS versus polypropylene, or whether it has a textured or a smooth glossy finish, those kinds of details. And I think this part is hard, Greg, because it takes time. You know, It does take time. It takes a lot of work. It takes money. But looking at it long term, once this product is launched, it's going to be so hard for other people to catch up, because this is our mold. We've negotiated, like we have, for the most part, as much as possible, secured the rights to that mold to make this product absolutely amazing. So real value, again, the material, the thickness, the mechanics, you know, the shape, the print, whatever it is the product is.
All my best products, they all have like significant differentiation, you know, significant real value that's changed, or there's something different about my product, and like that's why it's selling better than my competitors. And quite frankly, those are like all my best products, like out of my whole Amazon store. And I oftentimes get the question of like, well, I'm not like an inventor, you know, how can I create something like this? And it's like, neither am I actually. I can't do CAD drawings and, you know, I don't give these like sophisticated changes of what I'm making to the product. Instead, it's like fairly easy with maybe a few little images and some text to try to describe to a factory what you want to change, right? Like, oh, I want this type of plastic, or I would like it to be a metal buckle instead of a plastic buckle, or like little things like that. So you don't be scared when we're talking about this, because you don't have to be an inventor. Most of this you can communicate to the factory just through text.
We even spent some time in a room and spent about 3.5, 4 hours just brainstorming. We bought all the competitors' products, we got them all out on the floor, and we just wrote. Like, I felt like a kid, like doodling this, what about this, what about this? And I'm trying the product different ways. Will this work? I throw it on the floor, I turn it around. Like, it's almost like your mind has to just let go. And what can you imagine that would be amazing? Like, give yourself permission to invent. Imagine nothing's a limit. And then you're able to come back, okay, if this is an option, will this work? And I love how you said, like, you mentioned a metal buckle. When working with product designers, you're right, sometimes I don't know the technical term. So I'll say, well, here's an example. And I think that's where the best creativity comes from, is you get an idea from something else. Like some other industry or product, you take it and you transfer it to a new industry. And now that you have something to compare it to, it makes it a lot easier to communicate with that designer.
Yeah, I like that a lot. You know, when we're talking about like improvements you can make to your product, one of actually the simplest ones I ever did, but it was still very effective, was just shipping the item already assembled. Like the box was about twice as big, and of course the factory charged me a little extra for this. But just doing that, I think like all my competitors probably averaged around like 4 stars, where I was like 4.5 stars, because it was a little bit tedious to like assemble, to put together. So that's another just like great way, like great simple thing you can do. But what made me think of that is you said, okay, if there weren't any rules or limits, what would you change about this? And looking at the competitors' products, it was like, man, 10 minutes to put this thing together? Like, this sucks. Like, I would take my 10 minutes back. And so it's like, man, I should ask to order these assembled.
And sometimes we overlook the obvious. You know, like, that's obvious. Like, that, why not? And what's cool is most people, when they give those reviews, they're giving it within the first few months, or even with the first few weeks. So they're still remembering, oh, it's already assembled for me. I'll have to spend hours putting this thing together.
I really enjoyed both of those tips as far as real value as well as perceived value is concerned. I think there was a lot to take in there, and if you were a listener and you were going to close out this video, go spend 30 minutes working on your Amazon business, what would you do?
I love the question because there's one you guys can take right now, and that is your photo. Go back, find out what people think of your photo versus the competitors without them knowing which one's yours. And there's several ways you can do that. You can use PicFu, you can use the Photoshop idea option I shared, and just get their honest impression. Which one would you pick? And if they don't pick yours, you gotta change it, you gotta make it better.
I like that a lot. You can do that in not much time at all.
I know, it doesn't take a lot of work.
Totally. Thank you very much for all of that value provided. The other 2 of the 4 tips are going to be over on the Just One Dime video. I already know what we're going to be talking about over there, and I'm really excited about it. These 2 are good, but I think our next 2 tips may even be better.
Awesome. Can't wait for it. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I'll see you guys over there. Bye.
You guys take care. Bye.
All good?
You want to clap anyways?
Yeah. Just for fun.
Other 2 tips we discussed that you're not seeing right here on Just One Dime's channel.
Looking forward to see you guys over there. Bye.
See you. Bye.
That was just a rehearsal, right?
No, it was real. You want it again? You didn't like it?
No, it was probably fine. I was just taking photos because I thought you said you were going to do it.